This one's a bit late since I've been down with a cold the past few days, but we are back with a week of milestones last time, where James Duckworth made history with his Mexico City Challenger title despite the rain delay. Pavel Kotov's return with 3 Challenger 50 titles, with the third also being won last week. Yibing also returned with another title in Sarasota. Rafael Collignon defended his title in Monza Challenger following his previous title defense in Pau, as well as Zombor Pirosh with another likely top 100 push. Just a quick note that I've been putting this audio podcast as a priority, especially considering some packed weeks like this one. Still, I note down some matches and some moments. I can always come back visually for those moments that stand out, but this podcast is where things get explained first. So we are going to start this episode with the weekly Challenger Finals recap, and the first final, in order of their conclusion, was the first Wuning Challenger. It was a 50 and the Seoul Hardcore Challenger event for that week. There, 8th seed Pavel Kotov defeated 6th seed Harry Wendelken 4-6, 6-3, 6-4. Pavel previously survived 3 set matches in both quarterfinals and semifinals, the latter that was moved indoors due to rain, and both Pavel and Harry reached their 3rd challenger level final of the season. Pavel won 2 titles in Koblenz and Cherbourg, both indoors, while Harry runner-up twice, one in the first Hersonisos Challenger against Toby Samuel, and another one against Liam Brody just the previous week in Miyazaki. So, Pavel briefly controlled the first set up to 3-1 thanks to some ground strokes. And he also notably had some deep forehand line before smashing his way for his earlier breakpoint in the first game. And then he also had a forehand winner somewhere before breaking to 3-1. But his forehand errors caused Harry to break back to 3-3. Harry then shifted the moment back in his favor, similarly with a deep backhand winner before breaking to 5-3, but Pavel had like a smash 2 points into the next game before he broke back to 5-4, only to be broken back for Harry to take the first set 6-4, especially after Pavel's +1 forehand error occurring moments after Harry's cross-court forehand for the break for the set. Harry then had a shaky start to the second set with a forehand error to be broken to 2-1. He previously another break point, but it was safe before he held to 1-0, if I'm not mistaken. And Pavel went all the way to take the second set 6-3, starting the 9th game with a deep backhand down the line winner. But Harry's double fault didn't help anything except for handing Pavel the set. After that, the most crucial points of the third set being in the 10th game, where Pavel's forehand return winner began the proceedings to 0-15, and he also had a forehand winner finish to 30-30, and it was very deep to that extent that Harry got overwhelmed and he had a forehand error finish somewhere despite finding his forehand line for his match point save for the earlier juice, but it didn't help because he got out hit on his forehand side, if I'm not mistaken. And this marked Pavel's 3rd challenger title of this year and became the first person to reach this feat for this year, and also the 6th of his career. And he returned to 261 live despite winning 3 challenger 50 titles. He's now competing in the Busan Challenger, that is a 125-point event. So curious to see how he follows this up after advancing due to Icho's retirement. The Monza Challenger finals then followed It was a 125 event on clay, where first seed and defending champion Rafael Collignon defeated 7th seed Dino Prismic 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-2 and 6-3. As Rafael defended his title, Dino made his long-awaited top 100 debut after defeating 2nd seed Valentang Royer 6-3, 6-2, then followed by defeating 3rd seed Mattia Bellucci 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-1 and 6-4, both in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. Despite their best chances in the earlier parts of this match, I divided the first set crucial moments into before the tiebreak and during the tiebreak. So before the tiebreak, Rafael's forehand winner 2-30-30 paved the way for his break point thanks to a different backhand winner 2-30-40, but they were all saved until Dino came up with a preceding shot somewhere before holding to 5-4, and they somehow had not looked back since until the tiebreaker, where Rafael's defense to offense started the proceedings there to 1-0 before he consolidated as far as 2-0, and then he faced a mini break back right afterward to 2-1, but he dominated since he led 3-1. Not to mention that he had a pass to Dino's failed volley to take the first set 7-6 with the tiebreak score of 7-2, followed by more passes and smash doing the job in the second set, and that included a smash from the Belgian before he broke to 3-1, and he hadn't looked back since, even if Dino had a working volley 2 points into the 9th game, where at the game Rafael served for the match. This marked Rafael's second challenger title of this year after defending his title in Pau Challenger to bring him back to 65 in the live rankings, while Dino finally secured his top 100 debut at 87 with this runner-up run, and both of them will head to Madrid Masters 1000 next week, where Rafael went straight into the main draw, while Dino still have to play in the qualifying rounds. Before getting into this final, I think this is worth saying that following matches closely doesn't have to mean betting or just chasing results. Especially at this level, it can also mean following journeys, seeing how players grow week by week, and understanding what these moments mean for them. And weeks like this, despite some of the issues around attendance or crowd behavior, are a reminder that there's still a lot of value in just watching and appreciating what's happening on court. This is a lead up to the Madrid Challenger, which is a 75-point event for the ATP department, where 7th seed Zsombor Piros defeated Yuri Rodionov 7-5, 6-2. Zombie defeated 8th seed Toby Samuel 4-6, 6-3, 6-3 in a different classic semifinal earlier that day, while Yuri, who saved a match point out of an infamous close call, defeated 6th seed Nicolas Jerry 6-7 with a tiebreak score of 7-6, 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-4, 7-6 once again with a tiebreak score of 7-4. This final began with, despite Yuri's best chances earlier in this match, Zombie actually earned it at the end of the first set, where he began the 12th game with a forehand winner. He was a point ahead several points later before Yuri saved that deficit with a serve plus 1 volley, but Zombie fired a working lob to set up his set point before a forehand error from the Austrian confirmed the 7th seed's break for the first set to 7-5. Yuri's previous errors only created Zombie's break chances, where the forehand pass confirmed his break to 3-1, consolidating his position to 4-1, and he hadn't looked back since, with the Hungarian firing a forehand return winner to 30-30 several points before he broke for the win 6-2. This marks Zombie's second challenger title for this year after winning the Lugano Challenger indoors. That put him back to around 154 live. So whether or not this put him way closer to the top 100 debut could also be a question. But whether or not he's taking this chance this year can be a question to follow in the next few either months or the next few periods, I guess. The next one is the 75-point challenger event in Campinas, where Gustavo Heige defeated first seed Gonzalo Bueno 6-2, 7-5. So the first set began with 3 consecutive breaks, which included Gustavo's breakback to 2-1 after Gonzalo's backhand winner 2 points into the third game, paving the way for that break to happen. But it was Gustavo's drop and pass combination that helped him to break 4-1 in the middle of the fifth game. And Gustavo hadn't looked back since, and he took the first set 6-2 at the end. So Gustavo's drop and backhand pass once again paved the way before he broke to 1-0, but Gonzalo answered with a forehand winner 2 points into the second game before he broke back to 1-1, and he massively held to 2-1 afterward. He had a different forehand pass from the net before he broke to 3-1, and he survived Gustavo's volley at the game he held to 4-1. However, at the game, the first seed had to serve, or supposedly serve, for the second set at 5-3. Gustavo started to have ideas with a very close backhand down the line winner, which turned out to be in, made that 30-30 before he broke back to 5-4. His other deep forehand winner confirmed his hold to 5-5, and Gustavo had another working volley to set up his breakpoint 3 points into the 11th game before he broke to 6-5. And despite surviving a match point save due to his close call forehand, this time it was out, like it looked a little out, but it was out in a very close call. Gustavo still took the second set 7-5 to eventually win his third career challenger title after Asuncion 2024 and Florianopolis 2025, and this put him back to at least near the Grand Slam qualifying range, but the cutoff is still several weeks away, so who knows, he's back into the Roland Garros qualifying rounds. The penultimate challenger level final that week in the ATP was the 75-point challenger event in Sarasota, where first seed Yibing defeated Stefan Dostani 6-1, 4-6, 6-3. Yibing notably defeated wildcard Kei Nishikori 6-3, 3-6, 6-1 in the second round in what turned out to be just their first meeting, with Kei's frequent backhand errors was the cause of Yibing's third set dominance, while Stefan won his maiden challenger title of his career as well, last time in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was an indoor hardcourt event. So, back to these finals, the first set was Yibing's best set I've ever seen offense-wise, throughout the week especially. Notice that Yibing foiled Stefan's game points with forehand winners before breaking to 2-0. He then had another drop to pass combination to 15-15 before having another forehand winner to create a break opportunity before breaking once again to 4-0, and Yibing eventually took the first set 6-1. Stefan then tried to raise his game in the second set with a backhand down the line winner 3 points into the second game. I think it was 15-30 on Yibing's serve, but Yibing massively held to 1-1 before he broke to 2-1 moments after his forehand winner forced the initial juice to 40-40. but a loose service game from the top seeds half only confirmed Stefan's breakback to 2-2. Despite Yibing's best efforts to save the earlier set point with a different down-the-line winner, Yibing's forehand error then cost Stefan's break for the second set to 6-4, which warranted a deciding set, where despite Yibing's earlier chances, he only broke to 4-3 after his forehand winner for a different earlier juice paved the way for a break point over a different unforced error from Stefan, and a backhand down the line winner, which I somehow caught off guard, and I had to take a double take before confirming, oh, that was in, confirmed Yibing's break to 4-3, and he held to 5-3, but Stefan had a forehand error, if I'm not mistaken, to start the 9th game, and if I'm not mistaken, he might have double faulted somewhere, but it also didn't help, except Yibing somehow having match points on return, which he converted to 6-3 to win his first challenger title of this year, and this put him closer to the top 100 at 101, following up from his second round run in the Australian Open as a qualifier and being the quarterfinalist of Acapulco 500 not long ago. Who knows, this could bring a momentum for even stronger comeback, health willing. Last but not the least, the last event for the ATP Challenger Finals last week was the 75-point Mexico City Challenger, where first seed James Duckworth defeated Stefano Napolitano 6-7 with a tiebreak score of 9-7, 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-3, and 6-2. This was a historic final worth 2 days and 2 episodes. And what was the historic moment after James Duckworth's title? Follow this through. So after a break exchange from the grounds to 2-1, so there was a break to 2-0 from James's half, and then Stefano broke back to 2-1 after finding his backhand somewhere. James had his initial set point made due to Stefano's backhand error, but Stefano's volleys saved James's sole set point at that set before holding to 5-5. But fast forward to the first set tiebreaker, James mini broke as far as 4-2, but his failed slice to 4-4 turned the favor to Stefano's favor. Stefano's failed slice then contributed to James's other set point to 6-4. Note that James had 2 other set points here, but Stefano foiled them thanks to his +1 forehand winner and another backhand pass to save it to 6-6. Stefano then fired another forehand winner to save James's set point to 7-7, but it was James's +1 forehand error that confirmed Stefano's first set to 7-6. The tiebreak score was 9-7 then. The second set then began with a few service game holds, and there was a rain delay midway through. But one of the most crucial moments deep in this second set was James's 4th shot forehand winners for his earlier juice and break point in the 9th game, only for Stefano to save both of his break points before he massively held to 5-5. But by the time Stefano had a close call back on serve and had to replay the point, the rain got heavier and the organizers decided for the match to continue the next day at 12 p.m. local time. In a statistic nobody asked for, this marked Stefano's second challenger final also being interrupted by rain after he had a similar experience in the first Kigali Challenger not long ago, where he was the runner-up to Joel Schwartzler. It was supposed to be a Saturday final, but because of the overnight delay due to rain, they had to continue the next day where Joel won. And this case was almost similar, where this time Stefano was on the lead, and then it was 5-5 in the second set against James Duckworth. And then another overnight rain delay before they continue the next day. So if anyone is joking if Stefano is controlling the weather, maybe, especially since both of his challenger level finals this year, as mentioned, were interrupted by rain somewhere. So 2 points into that 11th game that continued the day after, James fired a backhand return winner 2 points before a different unforced error from Stefano confirmed James's break to 6-5. James then had his opportunity to serve for this set, but he faced 2 break points that was saved from, at least I spotted one from his forehand side. And then James had 2 set points foiled due to his backhand errors, and he eventually got broken back to 6-6, which made another tiebreaker unavoidable. Stefano's +1 forehand error started the proceedings to 1-0, and James held until as far as 4-2 thanks to some groundwork, and he eventually took that second set 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-3 thanks to an unreturned serve. After that, James dominated the third set through a return winner before breaking to 2-0, and then Stefano initially had his opportunity to break back in the 7th game thanks to a rare forehand winner in that set's regard, but James saved them on his serve before he consolidated to 5-2. After that, Stefano had the opportunity to serve to stay in the set, but what was initially vulnerable for James, which were his backhands, turned out to be the strength at the end of this match, where not only a different backhand winner paved the way for his initial match point in the 8th game, but he also converted his match point through a sort of low bounce backhand pass, which turned out to be in, and it secured his 18th challenger title of his career, the first of this year, equaling Go Soeda for the 4th all-time challenger career title leaders, with Lu Yanshun or Randy Lu winning the most titles on the ATP Challenger Tour in tennis history with 29 titles. I think James and Randy were separated by 11 titles, but although I feel that the record is bound to be broken somewhere, I don't know if James will break it or anyone else, but it's still bound to be broken somewhere. So we'll see if we are going to witness history once again, at least this season. From last week's winners alone, we can track in this trajectory watch that first, even if Pavel Kotov won 3 Challenger 50 titles, he had yet to return to the top 200, and he's starting to build that form back as he competes this week in Busan 125 event. And second, notice that it was a long-awaited top 100 debut for Dino Prismic. I understand that some of you might have him breaking through the top 100 from either the first time you watched him at 2023 or already immediately at 2024 or 5, but some physicality questions might have arisen due to his injuries, understandably. However, after runner-upping Monza 125, he confirmed that top 100 debut at 87, but he still has to compete in the Madrid 1000 qualifying rounds. But outside of him, Martin Landaluce, probably soon despite his early exit in Barcelona 500. At the moment, Martin is 99 live with that run, outside of Miami and Monza semifinals, where he was defeated by defending and eventual champion and first seed Rafael Collignon 1-6, 4-6, but it might have depended on some other results, the nearest ones being Shoshima Bukuro, who is at 108 live, and Coleman Wong at 120 live, both of them playing in Busan and also advanced to the second round. So say whatever you want about the next gen finalists batch of 2025. It wasn't too shabby either, but who knows, there could be another big progress, big leaps, or even breakouts coming along the way from this batch. The third journey I also am interested in is, will Jombor Pirosh be in the zone to push for the top 100 debut again? Because every time it looked like he was close enough to reach the top 100, let's say things happen. There were some failed attempts in the past for several years, but we'll see if he ever got close to the top 100 debut this year. He would eventually take the chance and snatch it all the way. Another one from these title runs is Yibing Wu's awaited top 100 return. He was very close to it after winning the Sarasota Challenger at 101, but the next few weeks might have him returning to the top 100, hot and result willing. And last but not the least, not sure if I'm hyperbolic at this thought, but will James Duckworth be our next challenger GOAT? Because he currently has 18 challenger titles, and his next journey would be the Asian Challenger swing. He just withdrew from this week's Busan Challenger because of the just finished Mexico City Challenger. Those 18 titles are the most among the active players in so far. Facundo Bagnis and now doubles only Maximo Gonzalez won 17, and pretty much those were the nearest. He tied for fourth with Go Soeda with 18 titles for the all-time leaders, but only 11 titles separated him and Randy Liu. So whether or not he's able to surpass that, either the next few years, the next period of time, or will anyone else surpass that, that would be one of the most interesting stories moving forward. And speaking of this week's classic shoutouts, I had to make some tough decisions. The poll only allowed 4 of these matches to be chosen. So those 4 matches were the first round of the Madrid Challenger between Pablo Llamas Ruiz and Federico Ferreira Silva. The other one was the second round of the Campinas Challenger between Alvaro Gian Meza and Pedro Sakamoto. The other one was the Madrid Challenger semifinal between Nicolas Jarry and Yuri Rodionov, and the late submission and the fourth nomination being the Mexico City Challenger final between James Duckworth and Stefano Napolitano. So just like last year, Madrid Challenger delivered again in a similar manner to last year when it comes to these classics. But the Mexico City Challenger final was roller coaster enough. If you pay attention to what I tried to explain in the earlier part of this podcast, or if you watch the entire match or see the short highlight in the ATP Challenger official channel, it was that topsy-turvy enough to warrant a nomination. Nicolas Jarry against Yuri Rodionov was absolute cinema. That also included that controversial close call match point, which I thought would make it into my match of the year shortlist. But I had to cut this first round match from Wuning 1 challenger between Cody Pearson and Chow Chow, and another second round Madrid challenger match between Nerman Fatic and Franco Agamenone to make room for the Mexico City Challenger final, which turned out to win the small poll on Twitter at 34%, with the other 2 matches sharing 33% both for Madrid and Campinas. There were also equally interesting milestones in the doubles watch, especially in the ATP Challenger scene, where, as we start with the first Wuning Challenger, which went indoors due to rain, Joshua Charlton and Ben Jones, who were the second seeds, defeated Bufaisar Gadamauri and Giles Hussey 6-4, 6-2. The next one in Monza 125, which was very packed, especially for pairs that did not make it to the Monte Carlo Masters 1000. Third seeds Sander Gillet and Sam Verbeek defeated Jakob Paul and Mate Forgel 4-6, 7-6 with a tiebreak score of 7-3 and 10-8 in a battle of both informed pairs. For Sander and Sam, this marked their fourth challenger titles together after winning 3 last year in Vienna, Brest, and Bratislava too, with Brest and Bratislava too being indoors. In Madrid Challenger, third seeds Andrew Paulsen and Michael Verbanski defeated first seeds George Goldhoff and Trey Hildebrand 2-6, 6-4, 10-8 in the match tiebreak. This marked Andrew and Michael's first title of the season, but Michael will partner Philip Duda to face Monza champion Sander Gillet and Sam Verbeek later on in the OARS 3 Challenger, which is a 125 event, right at the first round. The next one, in the Sarasota Challenger, Hinek Bartong and Martin Dam Jr. defeated Garrett Jones and Theodore Winegar 6-2, 6-1. For Hinek and Martin, considering both players' early exit in singles, they might have avenged it to win the doubles title. Meanwhile, in the Campinas Challenger, Nicolas Alvarez Varona and Mario Mancia Diaz defeated first seeds Mariano Castelboim and Marcelo Zorman 3-6, 6-1, 10-8, also in match tiebreak. For Nicolas and Mario, they runner-up the previous week's Sao Leopoldo Challenger previously, so that makes it their first title together as a pair. And in Sunday's Mexico City Challenger Finals, first seeds Santiago Gonzalez and Ryan Segerman defeated second seeds Diego Hidalgo and Patrick Terhatch 6-4, 4-6, and 10-8. Fun fact, Santiago partnered Austin Krajicek in 2025. He and Ryan were on different sides of the net, so it was Santiago and Austin getting Ryan and Patrick, and now Ryan and Patrick went in different sides of the net, but they are still friends, and they ended up winning the title. Also shout out to the one classic in the Campinas Challenger, where Valentin Basel and Franco Ribeiro defeated Huertas del Pino brothers, Connor and Arclon 4-6, 7-6 in a tiebreak score of 7-2 and 17-15, which took around 2 hours. Nothing is impossible in doubles these days with these kinds of scorelines being common, especially in the early rounds of a tournament. There was only one WTA 125 tournament, which comprised this week's WTA 125 watched in Madrid, which was a joint event with the ATP Challenger 75 event, where in singles, Lisa Pigato defeated Marina Bastos Ribera 6-4, 6-0 to win her maiden WTA 125 title. Lisa notably defeated Polina Kudermetova 6-0, 2-6, and 6-1 in the semifinals, and all the way in the first round, she also defeated Daria Semenistaya 4-6, 6-2, 6-3. I recalled live scoring Lisa's match while waiting for the ATP Challenger Finals. I think the first set looked very tight to some extent, but after Lisa took the first set 6-4, everything became a one-way traffic since, especially considering Marina got begled in the second. Lisa's best title was previously the ITFW 75 in Nonthaburi when she defeated Hiromi Abe 6-4, 6-7 with the tiebreak score of 8-6 and 6-2, winning 8 ITF singles titles in total. In doubles, first seeds Irena Burio Escorihuela and Elena Pridankina defeated Irina Bara and Daria Semenistaya 4-6, 6-3, and 10-3 in the match tiebreak. I also would like to give some shoutouts to last week's ITF level winners. So there were some first-time ITF M winners, which were Jack Kennedy, who won M15 Boca Raton, and Daniel Siniakov, who won M25 Sharm el Sheikh, both last week's iteration. For Jack, using his junior ranking, he partakes in this week's Tallahassee Challenger, where he advanced to the second round due to Lucas Neumeyer's retirement, down 0-4 at the third set. Also, a shout out to the first-time ITFW winner, which was Carson Tanguilik at W15 Bonita Springs. She studied in the University of North Carolina as part of the Tar Heels team. And also notable winners in the ITFW were Yelin van Rom in W75 Coffee, Kayla Day in W35 in Boca Raton, and Tyra Grant in W35 in Santa Margarita di Pula, among others, as there were a couple of ITF tournaments last week as well. How about this week's broad overview as we are 1/4 through the week? So, first one, I'd like to follow Pavel Kotov's Busan journey. Second, I also noticed that Federico Correa also made a comeback from his injury. He accepted the wild card in Santa Cruz and survived a 3-set match against Lorenzo Joaquin Rodriguez. And in this challenger, that is the sole Saturday final for the week, he will have an interesting second round match later on with Gonzalo Bueno, who also survived a 3-setter in the first round and last week's Campinas challenger runner-up. Definitely a good test. The third one is in the ORS 3 challenger. That is a 125. The defending finalists are already out in the ATP event, as Elmer Muller, the defending champion, was defeated by Nicolas Jarry 2-6, 6-3, 0-6, and fourth seed Francesco Comesaña, who was the eventual runner-up as well, bowed out to wildcard Federico Ferreira Silva 6-3, 3-6, 2-6. And later on, we will see the continuation of Henrik Rocha taking on Tom Gensch, which was also suspended due to darkness. And this could be some fun battle of contrasts, depending on the combination of their aggression, some point constructions, or some other adjustments in between. And fourth, I just noticed, if anyone follows Barcelona 500, there will be a rematch later on from Marrakesh 250 semifinals between Rafael Hodar and Camilo Ugo Carabelli. So Rafa won that semifinal meeting 6-2 and 6-1, but the question will be, will this match be any different? Or will Camilo fight back in one way or another? By the way, I've been covering the Challenger Tour and other lower tier circuits as a fan, so if you enjoy the podcast or the overall work, I have support links on the captions. No pressure at all, but it would help support this project. Thank you for listening to this episode and hope to see you next week with a lot more stories brewing along the way. So until then, everyone, see ya!